Today, Walter is in his office minding his own business.
Yes.
Mr. Carlson, this is Security Control. We're testing the emergency system, so please disregard any alarms. It's strictly a test.
Okay, thanks.
We're sending a man up in your private elevator to check the electric eye circuits.
Well, how long will that take?
2 minutes. It's just one of our routine checks.
Send him up.
As we know, puttering around in your own space, doing your job, and minding your own business is the first ingredient in a recipe for disaster.
You don't have to raise your hands. Just keep away from the alarms on your desk.
May I put my glasses down?
Not on the left side. There's a button under the edge. Reach for it, Mr. Carlson. You're a dead man.
We're going to learn that there are hidden alarm triggers all over Walter's office. The problem? This guy knows about all of them. We'll find out who he is, how he knows, and what he wants in a moment. But first, let's digress a bit. The 1967 TV season saw a new sitcom premiere with a new face. The show was called The Second 100 Years. Arthur O'Connell played Edwin Carpenter, a 67-year-old man with a grown son who's just living his life. Suddenly, he learns that his father was found frozen in ice when an avalanche happened in Alaska. The catch? His father is alive. By the calendar, he's 101 years old, but he didn't age a day from the time he got stuck in the ice, so physically he's 33. Now the old cowboy prospector has to learn to adapt to modern society with a son who's twice as old as he is and a grandson who, well, take a look.
What are you doing on the floor?
Playing with my grandson.
The show introduced us to a young man with an amazing future. His name is Monty Markham, and he is one of my favorite actors of all time. He played dual roles, the hardtack-eating Westerner who's comfortable in the wilderness with just his horse and his gun, and the guy in his prime who's building a life for himself in a 60s world. The show only lasted one season, but it got Monty Markham noticed. We'll see in this episode that not only can he play the comedic roles two at a time, he can play just about anything. This guy is genuinely scary. He says his name is Pike, and that's all he'll tell. What does he want?
The Klae Resource.
The Klae Resource. Just like that.
No, Mr. Carlson, not just like that.
He wants it wrapped up with a nice ribbon and a bow, too.
I know you can't hand it over because it's not a thing or a formula. Easy.
You seem to know a lot about what it isn't.
It's a problem-solving capability with an R5 classification.
Walter says, as much as you know, you seem to have the same classification. Pike says, better. Walter says, I didn't know there was a better one. He keeps trying to stall Pike, explaining that he doesn't have the physics knowledge to understand how the resource works. Pike isn't buying it. He can hear in someone's voice when they're lying.
This gun has a silencer. This will happen to you. I walk out of here the same way I came up. Now I want to know the secret of the Klae Resource. I want it by the time I count to 10.
He knows a lot of things, but somebody forgot to tell him that a silencer is useless on a revolver. For the sake of time, I'll let folks in the comments explain why. Walter says it's all on the computer. You'll see for yourself.
Walter's using this terminal.
I didn't think the old boy knew how.
Well, let's see what he's programming. It's coverage of the hotel in Sweden.
It's possible Pike doesn't know that what Walter does on his terminal is mirrored on theirs. The big question is why he's pulling up all these files about the Klae Resource. Pike is watching things move by themselves. It sort of makes you think this is going to be a clip show, but don't fret, it's not.
Kind of beam array.
Number 32.
A force.
No, it is not a form of remote control.
My questions? Within their world, who shot this video? Where were the cameras and how did Klae get access to them? You know, all the questions we're not supposed to ask when someone does something like this. It'll take a few more videos, but eventually Pike will catch on.
Invisible. An invisible man.
He refuses to believe it. Carlson keeps saying, "You've seen it in action. Got a better explanation?" But Pike is obviously paranoid on top of whatever else he has going on.
I am telling you the truth. You have seen it in action. I am trying very hard to cooperate with you, but you are making it impossible. I don't know you. I don't know how much you know. I could assume that you know things that you may not know, unless I know where you got your information. I wouldn't want to trigger anything accidentally. How did you penetrate security? How do you know top secret procedures?
Walter means it. He doesn't want to do anything that will set this clearly crazy guy off, so he has to know what he can get away with and what he can't. And when we learn the source of his information, it's pretty obvious that what he can't get away with is anything. But before that, Pike says, "Convince me."
There's a file on Dermaplex.
What's Dermaplex?
It's a synthetic skin. It's elastic. It's perfect coloring. It forms a mask and gloves.
And now it's time to start the misdirection.
Due to a flaw in the original formula, invisibility remains a permanent condition.
So you need a mask and gloves.
Now, please, you have got to tell me who you are. I do not intend to betray you, but I don't want communications to break down because of a mistake.
This reveal is just about the only actual callback in the entire series.
My name is Pike. I escaped from a hospital for the criminally insane. My cellmate was one of the owners of the Klae Corporation.
Morgan Klae.
Morgan told me how he tried to take over.
Remember how they sent Morgan to said hospital instead of to prison? Nice move, folks. Now Pike has promised to get control of the Klae Resource.
An invisible man. Just walk into a bank, walk out, kill anyone, anytime, run the government, run the world. Dermaplex.
This is what I'm talking about. You really believe he's crazy and homicidal. Monty Markham does the crazy eyes in a way I haven't seen before or since. He turns in this kind of quality every time he's on screen, and he's still doing it today.
Okay. Mask and gloves. Do it. Take off your gloves. Let's see it.
And under duress from the gun, Carlson will be forced to reveal that he is indeed the Invisible Man. But he can't do what Pike is demanding.
I can't. I want to cooperate, but it just doesn't work that way.
I want to see it. Now.
I cannot do it alone. That's why the Westons are necessary. Dermaplex just doesn't peel off. It takes radiation to loosen the bond.
This may be the most perfect example of just go with it I have ever seen. Walter says, "Take me to the Westons so they can do their part and you will meet the Invisible Man." Daniel and Kate are fiddling with machines and numbers, still trying to make Dan visible again.
This is Mr. Pike. As you can plainly see, he has a gun. And the gun has a silencer.
Are you trying to tell us something?
He will use it.
Is he planning to?
If you don't do exactly as you're told.
Oh, they intend to do as they're told, so stop waving that thing around and start tolding.
Mr. Pike is not a security guard here. He is an escapee from a hospital.
A hospital for the criminally insane, which means I can do anything I want, including kill people, and I won't stand trial or go to prison. I just go back to the hospital and take up where I left off.
And that right there is the big problem with that system. Unfortunately, a few years later, somebody decided the solution was to close all the hospitals and kick all the patients out onto the street, a move that was so stupid and short-sighted we may never recover from it.
I hate to tell you this, but I have been forced to reveal the secret of the Klae Resource. Mr. Pike knows that I am the Invisible Man.
You told him?
He was able to piece it all together. He knows about Dermaplex. He has asked me to remove my mask and my gloves. I, of course, explained to him that it would take radiation to loosen the bond.
He wants to know how the machine works, but when Daniel starts explaining it in technical terms, Pike throws a hissy fit and accuses him of lying. Let's let Walter handle this.
You see, when Dermaplex is placed between these machines, the radiation loosens the molecular structures, and I am able to slide out of it invisibly. The Dermaplex remains here in place like an image of my body. But actually, I am able to move around invisibly. But I must return to the Dermaplex image of my body in order to gain visibility again.
We're seeing some aspects of Walter that we had no idea were there. Talk about thinking on your feet. He's setting Pike up to expect to see an image of him in the machine and invisible Walter doing stuff here and there around the room.
Why don't I believe you?
Well, it does sound impossible.
We didn't believe it ourselves until we saw it.
No, it's in your tone of voice. I pick up a hollow sound when people lie to me.
Why don't we show you?
Hold it, right there. Nobody leaves the room.
The controls are in there.
Why can't you run it from in here?
He just told you because the controls are in there. Hello, McFly?
This is a research lab. It's full of highly experimental equipment. The gauges, switches, dials, and all of the readouts are handled in there.
Why?
All good research labs do it that way. Didn't Morgan tell you that part? Oh, right, Morgan knows squat about science. He has dollar signs for eyes, and that's everything he knows. That's why he's in the hospital.
For safety. In case of overload, a burnout. There could be a fire.
We've handled this equipment long enough to know there won't be any problems. But someone must operate it from in there.
Your voice is hollow, Mrs. Weston.
I'm not used to people with guns, Mr. Pike.
I really wish she had added a duh to that, but we don't want to antagonize him too much.
What are those for?
So that we can communicate. Those machines give off ultrasonic vibrations. They can cause deafness. That's why we use headsets.
He positions Pike out of the radiation field, whatever that means. Pike will keep his gun on Kate to make Daniel behave. Daniel closes the control room door and goes to work.
Walter, Kate, don't react to my voice.
I've switched channels to bypass Pike's headset so he can't hear me. I'm invisible and I'm coming in, so distract him.
While I open the door, or I'm switching back again.
Kate finds an excuse to fiddle with the machine while Daniel slips into the room.
Ready.
He never learns. Insane people also often tend to be excessively strong. You do not try to wrestle someone like him. You hit him over the head with something very heavy and with great force.
Where are you? I know you're there.
Not good. That was a hit. Daniel has to scramble back to the control room while Kate wrestles Pike to get him to stop shooting.
Oh, shoot! You don't want to kill him. He's your source of power.
I surrender.
What?
It was me, invisible.
What's going on?
I told you Dermaplex remains in one place. I tried to take you by surprise. You were too strong for me.
Kate made a valid point. He can't make the Klae Resource do anything if he kills it. That's why he's in the hospital. He can't think things out like that. And you know if he had killed Daniel, he'd blame the rest of them and shoot everybody. That's what crazy people do. Unfortunately, mental health care wasn't any better in 1976 than it is now. Or should that be the other way around?
Weston was in on it.
Well, of course he was. Walter can't become invisible without Dan at the controls.
Dan,
Is everything all right in there?
All under control.
Weston, come out here where I can see you.
Daniel scolds Walter for risking Kate's life to keep up appearances. Pike is starting to fall apart.
now you've seen it in action, Mr. Pike. It has its limitations, but you were right about the possibilities of theft, power over people, even governments.
I don't like the tone of your voice, Carlson. You're trying to con me.
This is how it happens with people who are violently insane. It starts out fairly rational, but after a while the mind starts to break down. Things stop making sense, paranoia sets in, and ultimately there's a complete breakdown. The bad part is the breakdown usually happens after they've hurt someone. He says, I know I hit you, so if it was you, show me the wound.
Under this dermaplex mask, my skin is invisible. I can feel cuts, bruises. They just don't show.
We're gonna need a cold compress.
Let it go. I don't want you moving around.
You can't let him stand there. He's hurt.
Don't move!
Look, I had my try and I failed.
Somebody tried something. But what?
You can see the degeneration happening. This is one of the best performances any of us will see all year.
You say it was you, invisible, but you were standing there.
Look, I told you the dermaplex image remains in one place.
There it is, Carson. That's the tone I don't like. If there's one thing I know, it's when somebody lies to me.
Walter should give him the same answer Kate did. I'm not used to having guns waved in my face. But Pike is so far gone now, there's no point even trying to talk to him.
Once and for all, I've seen something I can't see. Now you say it's you, a man, invisible. But that's no use to me. Unless the Force, does exactly what I tell it to do. I'm in charge here, you understand? I am in command of this power.
When they start screaming, I'm the boss like that, you know the final disintegration probably isn't too far away. He says, I want to see this my way under my control. And to make sure there are no shenanigans, I'm going into the control room with Dr. Weston. That could be a problem.
All right, switch it on.
Mr. Pike, won't work.
Make it work, Dr. Weston.
I can't.
We know why, but he doesn't, so you can tell him most anything as long as you're careful about the tone of your voice. Tell him he damaged the machine when he shot that tape unit out in the other room. Tell him something.
Start the machine.
I can't.
Can't or won't?
Never mind, he really meant he can't.
One of the bullets, a ricochet, must have hit me.
He's been shot. Stay where you are.
He's wounded.
Now take a look at him. Carson, you stay put.
Where is it?
Right side.
How bad is he?
He needs a doctor.
He is a doctor. He can tell you what to do.
He is not a medical doctor, neither am I.
Maybe it's time we start calling advanced science degrees something else, because confusion like that happens all the time. They could use a better title that reflects what they actually accomplished. Something like Super Geek Weston or Big Brain Weston or Smarter Than You Weston. It's something we could play with. I gave up the chance to get my doctorate to look after our daughter and give my wife a chance to find the career she liked. I have no regrets. Frankly, if I had gotten the PhD I was going for, I wouldn't be here doing this. I'd be just another obscure gray-haired professor in an obscure gray-haired academic institution somewhere. Either that or I would have been kicked out of academia by now because I don't know when to shut up. Either way, I have a feeling I'd be miserable. Instead, I get to have fun doing this goofy stuff and sharing it with terrific people like you. Everything in life is a trade-off. That's one I can live with.
He was able to walk around. You can heat some water, clean him up. You got a first aid kit?
It's on the wall. Can I get it?
Nice and easy. Just take it down and bring it here.
Daniel whispers that the bullet just grazed him, but he wants Kate to pretend it's a lot more serious than that.
I'll need a compress. Boil some water on the burner.
Can I boil some water?
Not so fast.
Look, he's out of commission. We can't operate the lasers. We can't follow your orders.
I move slow.
Naturally, he assumes that the boiling water is to throw in his face when he drops his guard, as if they're stupid enough to try something so obvious. He drags everyone into the control room where Kate is trying to work on Daniel. Now, here's a question Mr. Pike doesn't seem to have considered. He has presumptive control of the Klae Resource. Now what? What's the end game here? He's learned that the resource is a person. What does he propose to do next? How does he plan to get out of here with it? And then what does he figure to do with it? You get the feeling he has no idea. But while Kate is fiddling with Daniel's shirt, he discovers the truth.
invisible?
Well, now you know.
Both of you.
No, only one of us. I misled you in order to protect the secret. Dr. Weston is the invisible man.
And if you fault him for misleading you, you're a bigger fool than you seem to be. What did you expect? But crazies like him expect total obedience to the gun. He really thought that because he shot a couple of test tubes, everybody would just roll over. Another example of how detached from reality he is.
No, but you came out of this room. What about the radiation, the lasers? How did you loosen the dermaplex?
Remember I told you about the portable setup we use on assignments? That's it there on the table.
He did tell Pike that they use a portable setup in the field, which was a clever move. The way he, Kate, and Walter are all playing off each other to create this tale is a thing of beauty.
While you were watching Walter, I used it on myself.
You're off key again, Dr. Weston. You were doing fine, but then your tone of voice shifted. I don't know exactly where you're lying. But you're lying.
Yes, but about what? His mind is degenerated to the point where he's not sure that matters.
I know the truth when I hear it.
He's invisible. See for yourself.
Show him what's up your sleeve.
Nothing.
I'm afraid I can't say the same.
Neither of them was lying about who's invisible, and at least for now, they've gotten away with the stuff they are lying about. He's been watching several of them eye the fire alarm, but nobody can get close to it. He says, "Don't even think about it or someone dies." Kate says, "I want all of us to live, including you, Mr. Pike."
You see, I disagree with your plans to control things by force. I see life in terms of cooperation, free will.
You live in a dream world, Mrs. Weston. This laboratory is 1,000,000 miles away from reality.
Because an inmate at a hospital for the criminally insane would know so much about reality.
Oh, no, Mr. Pike. We deal with reality.
You play with reality. You experiment. Hide and seek, searching for the answers to scientific puzzles.
And then the Klae Resource, which you now know as Daniel Weston, goes out and deals with real people who have real problems and gives them real solutions in the real world. Again, can't think things through. That's why he needs to be in an institution. He's the type of guy who, if he reaches my age or better and develops an enlarged prostate that makes it hard to pee, he'll make an impulsive decision to chop half his wiener off because he thinks it's restricting the flow. He says, people don't want free will. She says, they fight for it.
They fight to be top dog. They fight each other, pretending to be kind-hearted. But look close, Mrs. Weston. People have sharp teeth.
He says, you see the real people in the prisons. Humans are nothing but animals, and the only way to control animals is with fear.
I feel sorry for you, Mr. Pike.
Don't preach to me about human kindness, love, and understanding.
It's too bad we only have so much time and can't learn some of these backstories. What makes someone like this? Certain undercurrents in shows like Dexter would have you believe some are just born evil. I'm not sure I buy that, but I wouldn't rule it out. In any case, like most insane people, he maintains that he's the only one who can fix it. And I don't care who they are or what kind of credentials they might have. Anybody who tells you they're the only one who can fix it is insane. The only people more insane are those who believe them.
Did I hear you say you wanted to save the world?
There you go. Patronizing me again.
And why not? It's exactly what a crazy speech like his deserves. He says, I'm not some lunatic ranting to hear his head rattle. I spent years thinking about this, reading books. I've put in the time on it. Thing is, years of insanity is still insanity. He's all hot and bothered about poverty, disease, war, and all of it. And somehow, having control of one invisible man is going to enable him to take control of the whole world and fix all of it by forcing people to cooperate through fear. How one, count 'em, one invisible man is going to allow him to control 5 billion people is beyond me, but that's what's going on inside his scrambled head.
Do you fear me?
I fear what you might do
To your wife? Your friend?
to any of us.
So you'll cooperate because you're afraid I'll kill someone.
Maybe not.
Dan.
Maybe it's time to stand up to you.
Thank you. He has to know if he shoots Daniel, he's killing the golden goose. But there's still Kate to think about.
Sacrifice yourself to save the world?
I'm not out to save the world, Mr. Pike. But this much I will tell you. If you kill my wife, you'll have to kill me too. And without my invisibility, you're just an escaped patient with a gun.
All three of them agree, shoot one, you have to shoot all of us. And then your plan goes up in gunsmoke.
I don't have time for a stalemate, Weston.
Well, isn't that just too stinking bad? You think that's gonna change his mind?
Control of you is control of the Klae Resource. That is, if you're all you seem to be. You did lie to me. I heard it in your voice when you were telling me about the portable equipment, how you used it to become invisible.
Well, it does work better if I have someone to help me.
There it is. That's the tone I don't like.
He's sure Daniel is plotting something and it's driving him normal trying to find out what.
You saw the tape records on the computer file.
Maybe you got something, Carlson. Computers aren't programmed to lie.
Even in 1976, I knew that a computer only tells as much truth as the person operating it puts into it. Daniel says, let's look at the tape of the original experiment.
I don't understand. You disappeared completely.
That was before Dr. Maggio invented Dermaplex.
He's really falling apart. They told him this was before he became the Klae Resource, and disappearing completely is kind of the point now, isn't it? We watched Daniel destroy the equipment, painting the Dermaplex on his face the first time, and all the rest. Thing is, Pike still believes the Dermaplex has to be loosened with radiation before he can take it off. That's the key to this whole plan. After some arguing, Daniel says maybe he's right. The proper application of power is the only way to get some people to cooperate. I think we understand him. Too bad nobody else in the room does. But Kate will operate the controls and Daniel will step into the machine.
We'll need headsets.
Carlson, come out here.
Overload the system. Give me the readings.
He steps up there and starts removing his clothes while Kate calls out numbers.
185.
195. 200.
The Dermaplex is loosening. I'm about to take off my mask.
250.
For all his ability to hear when people are BSing him, Pike is buying this whole performance.
Take off your shirt. I want total invisibility.
He'd better be careful what he asks for because now he has no way to know where Daniel is. But for now, while he's got that gun on Walter, Daniel will perform tricks for him.
It's fantastic. Pick up the stool. High in the air.
We're all saying, now bash him with it, but while he's looking, that's probably not going to work. Yeah, that. We need to distract him first. Security has been trying to get in here all episode. We can finally open the door for them.
Well, Pike was right about one thing. They did send him right back to the hospital.
Well, let's hope they don't put him in the same cell as Morgan Klae.
It doesn't matter now. Klae already told him everything. And he can go back and rant all he wants about an invisible man. You think even Morgan is going to believe him?
Walter, you were really wonderful, though. The way you made it one for all and all for one.
He was more than that. His little tale about how Dermaplex works was the key to their whole escape. If he hadn't dreamed that up on the spot, there's no telling how this would have ended. One last time I have to fan gush over Monty Markham. I could watch him read a legal brief about the proper definition of dirt. I'm not sure television, movies, or anywhere else has fully explored the depths of his talent. As I mentioned, he's still acting today at 82, and he really doesn't look all that different. Some guys just hold their age better than others.
Not bad for 101. Don't look a day over 90.
Remember how they sent Morgan to said hospital instead of... Oh, they intend to do as they're told, so stop waving thing. I really wish she had added a duh to that, but we don't want to antagonize. Or should that be tell him he damaged the machine when he shot that tape. Control of one invisible man is going to enable him to... They did. How Dermaplex works was the key to their whole... I can say was.